Okay, let's unpack this. Um, the thing about the last time you actually signed something important.
Yeah, like a job offer, maybe even just clicking agree online somewhere.
Exactly. And you don't always stop to think, how much weight those words carry.
Hmm.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into a really insightful blog post. It's from Fazioli Publishing.
Ah, the one called From Fame to Failure, The Impact of Signing a Bad Contract.
That's the one. It focuses on lessons from athletes and entertainers. Our goal here is to, well, get past the headlines.
Right, understand the actual mechanics of these deals that went wrong.
Yeah, and pull out some lessons, that could help pretty much anyone avoid similar problems.
And what's really interesting, I think, is how these stories, even though they're about like superstars,
Right.
the mistakes often come down to really fundamental contract issues that apply to almost any agreement.
Absolutely. The blog post really drives that home. Even with incredible talent, a bad deal can just sink you financially.
It really can.
Okay, so the post kicks off with athletes. And Scottie Pippen's story really jumped out at me.
Oh, yeah. The Bulls dynasty.
Key player, right.
Yeah.
But back in 91, he signs this 7-year deal for $18 million.
Which sounds like a lot, and it was then, but
But his star just kept rising, didn't it?
yeah.
And pretty soon, that contract was way, way under market value.
Yeah, guys playing at his level were making significantly more.
And he was locked in. The blog mentions this caused financial strain later on. So what's the core lesson there?
Well, it really shows that tension, doesn't it, between wanting security, like a long contract gives you,
Mm,
and potentially losing out if your value just skyrockets later. You need mechanisms maybe to renegotiate.
right, like options to revisit the terms if
Mhm.
things change dramatically.
Yeah.
Because your value can change a lot in 7 years.
Absolutely. Did he have those options? That's the key question.
Food for thought, definitely. Okay, then we've got Mike Tyson. Everyone knows the name, the massive career earnings,
Over $400 million, the Post says.
yet bankruptcy. And the blog really points a finger at his promoter, Don King.
The allegation is King took a huge chunk, right? Like up to 30%.
Yeah, which seems, well, really excessive even for promoter fees.
Yeah.
What does that tell us about managing the money side?
Oh, it screams for transparency, doesn't it? You absolutely have to know who's getting what percentage of your earnings and why.
Mm-hmm.
These high fees can just bleed you dry, even if the initial numbers look massive. How much oversight did Tyson actually have?
That's the crucial part. It's not just earning it, it's tracking where it goes.
Exactly. Knowing the justification for every deduction.
Right, digging into those details. Next up in the post is Ricky Williams, his rookie deal with the Saints.
Ah, the incentive-heavy contract?
Totally. Only $8 million guaranteed out of a potential, what, $68 million?
Yeah, a huge gap.
And then injuries happen, team performance maybe isn't stellar,
Yeah.
and suddenly he misses out on most of that potential money.
It's such a clear example of, potential versus guaranteed cash. Incentives sound great, but they offer zero security against risk, against injuries, against things outside your control.
It was a massive gamble, really, betting on things staying perfect.
How much security are you willing to give up for that potential upside? That's the question his contract raises.
It's a tough calculation. Then, oh boy, Latrell Sprewell.
Mm-hmm. The infamous family to feed, quote.
He turns down a 3-year, $21 million extension from the Timberwolves, thinking he deserved way more.
And then nothing. No better offer materialized.
Right, he ends up out of the league, and the Post mentions later financial problems, like home foreclosures. That feels like just misreading the room completely.
Yeah, it really underscores needing a realistic handle on your market value. Ambition is great, but
But you got to be grounded, right?
exactly. You have to weigh that ambition against what the market is actually offering and the risk of holding out for too much.
A painful lesson in pragmatism there. Okay, last one for the athletes. Gilbert Arenas.
Agent Zero signed that huge $111 million deal with the Wizards. Yeah.
Massive contract, but then injuries and serious off-court problems, the gun incident.
Right.
His career was massively impacted, even though the contract was technically paying him. It brings in factors beyond just the money.
Yeah, Arenas' story is a good reminder that, even the best contract doesn't protect you from yourself sometimes or from bad luck with injuries.
True.
Your conduct, your health, they're vital. They impact your value and career regardless of the deal you signed. What non-financial stuff can torpedo a great contract? That's what his case makes you think about.
Okay, so that covers the sports side pretty well. The blog post then pivots to entertainers, and some of these are just as eye-opening.
Definitely. First up is TLC.
Huge group in the 90s. Massive success, waterfalls, no scrubs.
Selling millions and millions of albums, but then bankruptcy in 1995.
How does that even happen? The Post says it was down to their contract with LaFace Records.
Yeah, apparently the deal structure meant the label kept the vast majority of the income.
It makes you really question those standard record deals, especially back then.
Oh, absolutely. It shines a light on the complexities, particularly things like recoupable expenses.
Explain that a bit. Recoupable expenses.
Basically, costs the label incurs recording, marketing, videos, tour support, all that stuff. They deduct all of that from the artist's share of the royalties before the artist sees a dime.
Wow. So you could sell millions and still technically owe the label money.
Exactly. If those expenses are high and your royalty percentage is low, you might earn very little, even with huge hits, especially early in a career.
That sounds rough. And Toni Braxton, same label, right? Similar story.
Yeah, the Post mentions her too. Sold 15 million copies of Secrets, but also ended up in bankruptcy court around 98.
Again, the contract allegedly gave her minimal control over the money.
It seems like a pattern, doesn't it? It highlights that the headline royalty rate isn't the full picture.
Right.
It's the net amount, what you actually pocket after all those deductions. Negotiating fair rates and understanding, maybe even auditing those recoupable expenses is crucial.
Okay, different kind of issue next. Prince. The legend.
And his huge fight with Warner Bros.
Over ownership, right, of his master recording.
Exactly, the original recordings of his songs. The label owned them under his contract.
And he famously changed his name to that symbol in protest.
Yeah, it was a massive statement about artistic control and ownership. He eventually got control back, but it took years and a lot of struggle.
It really shows the immense long-term value of owning your own creative work, your intellectual property.
Absolutely. If you own it, you control its use, its future, and you benefit directly from its ongoing success. Giving that up is, well, it's a huge concession. What's the real long-term value of what you create? That's the question.
A fundamental one. Okay, let's talk MC Hammer.
Can't touch this. Early 90s, absolutely massive, made millions.
And then also bankruptcy. But the blog suggests this was less about a bad contract and more about other factors.
Yeah, mismanagement, maybe. Overspending, not fully grasping his financial obligations, taxes, stuff like that.
So even a good deal isn't foolproof if the financial discipline isn't there.
Exactly. It's a reminder that the contract is just step one. You still need financial literacy, budgeting, saving, planning to make it work long term. Doesn't matter how much you earn if you spend more or don't manage it well.
A crucial point. Finally, the blog touches on Keisha.
Her situation with Dr. Luke, very public, very difficult.
The contract was described as really restrictive, exploitative even. It tied her career, her creative freedom, directly to him.
Yeah, leading to that long, painful legal battle that basically stalled her career for years.
It really goes way beyond just the financial terms, doesn't it?
Oh, completely. It shows how these exclusive long-term contracts can impact everything, your career path, your artistic voice, even your personal well-being.
It forces you to think about the non-financial clauses, too.
Absolutely. What control are you giving up?
Yeah.
For how long? What are the real non-negotiables for your freedom and growth?
So looking back at all these examples, athletes, entertainers,
Yeah.
the blog kind of pulls out some common threads, right?
Yeah.
And why these contracts went bad.
Yeah, several recurring themes pop up. Lack of financial literacy seems a big one.
And maybe not having the right legal advice. Poor representation.
Definitely. Sometimes being exploited by agents, managers, labels, people in power.
Right. Loss of ownership, whether it's the actual money or the intellectual property, like with Prince.
Yeah, and that ties into maybe lifestyle inflation, too. Spending based on potential earnings that don't always materialize.
It's quite a sobering list when you put it all together.
It really is, and it points to how vulnerable people can be, especially when they're young, successful, and maybe focus more on their talent than the business side.
Which brings us to the really important part, the lessons we can all take away, even if we aren't signing multi-million-dollar deals.
Exactly. Practical takeaways.
First one the blog emphasizes. Hire qualified advisors, lawyers, agents, accountants, people who specialize in your field.
Cannot stress that enough. Don't just use your cousin who's a lawyer. Find someone who knows these specific types of contracts inside and out.
Yeah, they're your best defense, really. They spot the pitfalls.
They advocate for your interests.
Second lesson, really understand ownership. What do you actually own? What rights are you keeping? What are you giving away?
Whether it's IP, like Prince, or just understanding guaranteed money versus bonuses, like Ricky Williams, ownership is power.
It gives you leverage, long-term security.
Yeah.
So ask the detailed questions about who owns what.
Right. Don't just gloss over it.
Okay, thirdly, plan for the long term. Don't just bank on everything going perfectly or relying only on potential future money.
Build in some stability, right? Focus on a secure foundation, not just the best case scenario. Evaluate the contract's impact over years, not just today.
Mm-hmm. Think about sustainability.
Exactly.
And finally, maybe the most crucial one, learn financial literacy yourself.
Yes. Empower yourself.
Understanding basic contract terms, taxes, investing, planning,
Hmm.
it puts you in the driver's seat.
It's not just for rich people, it's a life skill. The more you understand, the better you can protect yourself in any negotiation, big or small.
So wrapping up this deep dive, it's pretty clear, isn't it? Bad contracts, the impact goes way beyond just money.
Oh, yeah. Career, reputation, well-being, it affects everything.
These stories, thanks to Obsidian A. Freeman's post over on Fazioli Publishing, they're really stark warnings.
They absolutely are. Financial literacy, good advice, knowing your worth, they aren't optional, they're essential protection.
It's fascinating how these high-profile cases really boil down to principles that affect so many agreements we all encounter.
Totally. We might not be negotiating record deals, but understanding terms, getting advice, planning ahead, that's universal.
Absolutely. So, on that note, maybe a final thought for you listening. Thinking about these examples, what's one specific part of any agreement, big or small, that you might look at with a bit more scrutiny from now on?
That's a good question to ponder.
Definitely worth reflecting on personally. And hey, if this sparked your interest, check out that post by Obsidian A. Freeman on Fazioli Publishing, and maybe look into some resources on contract basics or financial literacy.
Good advice.